Well, hey, welcome back, everybody. And yeah, remember last weekend I told you that we were going to go take a look at the mine on the other side of that mountain? Well, I drove over there, and darn it, if someone didn't blast the adit or the portal shut. It was completely blown in. I don't know if it was done by the original claim owners or the BLM or the forest, but regardless, we weren't getting into it, and it's too bad because it had a really nice sized waste rock pile. I would say at least over 8,000 square feet, so that, that's going to be some substantial diggings. But oh well, we're moving on to plan B, and this ain't too bad. Here's plan B, a beautiful looking head frame. So let's get started. All right, so someone drug up, I don't know what kind of car that is. Is that a Lincoln or a Cadillac? Hard telling, all burned out. Somebody must have had a beer party and burned out their Cadillac. So I was scratching around here. Yeah, we'll get to the head frame, don't worry. But I gotta show you guys some stuff here first. There's some really great stuff laying around on the ground. Take a look at some of these samples. Look at, see, we don't even have to go down into the mine yet, and I can tell you what they're pulling out. There's a nice sample of breccia. Yep, hydrothermal altered quartz. See how it's all broken up, and then it goes into suspension or in solution. Then eventually, over time, it re-solidifies, and it gets what you have here, breccia, and there is going to be gold in that. Okay, here's another wonderful looking piece.
Limonite.
Yes, that's what you want to find when you're hard rock mining, right there. Of course, you have to crush it up. That's beautiful. That's just gorgeous. Should take a hammer to that, put it in my gold pan. Here's another beautiful piece of it right here. See that? Yep. Crush that rock up, guarantee you're going to have a few specks of gold. So if you look out here, see all the tan colored, light colored waste rock pile? And then if you look up high on the mountain over there, you see all that tan colored rock. It almost looks like limestone. Well, that's what they pull out of the mine when they're sinking the shaft. So they're going through many different layers of worthless rock. And I'll show you that over here when we get to these ore samples. But they went through many layers of worthless rock before they started getting into the hydrothermal features of this ore body, and that's what they were chasing after. That's why when you look down here, you see this big area. It's all filled with iron oxide, a different color. Okay, that's what they were mining. This is what's going to be hauled off to the mill, crushed up. And then, of course, you get your free mill gold out of there, you roast your sulfides, etc., etc. We've been through all that before. So, all right, well, before we get to this really cool looking head frame, and yeah, there's a way into the manway, I'm guessing, we're going to head up here and take a look at these core samples. All right, I'll meet you folks up there. Okay, we're up here by ore samples, and yeah, this is an active mining claim, so we've got to be respectful. If you notice over there, we got a no trespassing sign, so we're not going to go anywhere near that. That's none of our business. But at least I can show you guys some of these core samples here, like this one. Take a look at that. Now you see the color of it. All right, now look up on that hill. See the color of the rock up on that hill? Same thing. So what they had to do is drill down through all the worthless rock until they started to get into stuff like, let me show you, right here. Right there. Of course, that rusty color quartz is all breaking apart. Looks like they drilled these back in, well, this one here says 2008, taken from 251 to 260 something feet down. Okay. Show you a few of the samples. Well, that's kind of neat looking. Look at this one. It's like they went through some sort of a slate. And we got some more over here. Here you can actually see right there, they went through, there's a vein of quartz right down that one. Okay. And, oh, neat. Look at the, look at these little, these calcite nodules that they brought up from somewhere. Very nice. And out back, they had a bunch of ore samples that they had to put in bags. You know, when you're core drilling and doing that type of activity, you're not going to always end up with a beautiful hard rock sample like what we saw in those boxes. Oftentimes, you're going to end up with you know, loose samples that you got to put into bags. And of course, you have each and every one assayed. And then when you're done with it, well, I suppose these folks had to put it somewhere, so they just dumped it back here for now. Okay, we're going to head on over this direction. I see something interesting that way. You know, I'd love to show you the shack and all that, but like I said, this is someone's active mine, and we're going to be respectful. I'm going to show you what to look for if you're looking for gold, and see if we can scratch into more of those types of things. Okay, so let's head over here. Meet you over there. Okay, I'm a little bit further on up the hill. You guys are going to love this. You're just going to love this. Are you ready? I'm loving it. I just got here, so remember I told you guys I love a good surprise, and I don't like to do too much scratching around before I get to a site because I want it to be just as much fun for me as it is for you guys. Well, take a look at here. Look at this. How cool is that? Looks like the upper part of an open stope right there. Oh yeah, we'll be crawling down into that. And look at, let's see, let me get on the other side of this fence. I get you a better angle here. Okay, have any of you ever been like at a hot springs, okay, or any kind of like a geothermal location, and you get to those and you see all those different layers? It's kind of like you know, calcification and all that stuff. You see it in Yellowstone. There's areas in Idaho, places in Wyoming. Okay, it's the same thing here. It's hydrothermal. Okay, notice. See all the twisting and the banding, okay? You have to imagine that at one time, what you had coming up out of here was superheated gases, okay, that were created by permeating groundwater. And then what that does is that's what leaches out your gold and silver, etc., and you get this type of a formation. And that's why they're digging into it. See all the rusty colored looking stuff? Just like what we found back there laying on the ground? Well, that's what they're digging into right here, okay? So before we jump down in here, I saw something off to the right. Let me show you. Find a little easier way to get on the other side of the fence here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can see why they're all excited about this location. There's probably all kinds of goodies still laying. I'm just seeing it everywhere. Well, you know, folks, I used to be a gold miner, and I did it quite a bit back in the 90s. And so it's fun. I tell you, when the gold bug bites, it bites hard. All right, we definitely have a dynamite magazine here. Yep. Okay, let's look inside. Oh yeah. Just a little place carved out to keep their dynamite. They built a cool little door here too. Okay, let's head back over to that pit and jump down into it. I'll meet you over there. All right, we switched over to the fancy camera down in the hole, and now I'm real sorry if I get excited on camera because, like I said, I used to be a gold miner and I know what I'm looking at, and I can tell what the miners, what got them excited, and it kind of gets me excited too seeing this because there's still so much of it left over. Look here. Right in there, there's a pocket. There's a nice pocket. Now, it could be it's still sitting here because maybe it's only, what, 1/4 of an ounce per ton or 1/8 of an ounce per ton. That's probably why it's still sitting here, because really to be profitable, you got to be up in the range of about 1/2 to 3/4 of an ounce per ton to 1 ounce per ton. Start getting into numbers like that, then you're really on to something. So this very well could, even though it's really pretty, it could be a low-grade deposit. That's why it's still here and looking like this. But okay, let's head on inside. Oh boy, look at that. Wow, look at this pocket, you know, where it's all rusty right there. All right, folks, I'm going to pause the video just for a moment here because I didn't feel as though I did a very good job explaining to you guys what you're looking at. This is called limonite, and limonite contains really high quantities of iron oxide, and as you all know, when you expose iron to oxygen or water, you get rust, and that's why you're seeing this rusty color right here. Well, limonite oftentimes exists within hydrothermal structures, and this is what gold miners are looking for because it precipitates out at about the same temperature as gold. So you will often find really fine particles of gold inside of this stuff, and that's why here when we're looking in this mine, you can see that they're digging out pockets, different pockets here and there, and that's what they're going after. Not to mention silver. There's a bunch of galena in this mine too that you'll see coming up here in a moment. So I believe they were going after both really fine gold within the limonite, as well as silver locked up within the sulfides and the galena. Okay, let's get back at it. That right there, look at that. That's beautiful. Okay. Turning back around. Yep. They hollowed this whole thing out here. We got something going off. Oh, shoot, we got stuff going in every direction. Goodness. All right, let me get down on a place for my feet here. I don't want to end up tripping. Here we go. See, they got up into that. There's something going down there. Look at it all throughout this rock here. Turn the big light off. That always seems to see that. They haven't even gotten into that yet. Okay. And what do we have here? Oh, wow. Looking above my head, that's 40 feet tall right there. At least. Whoa. Almost. I'm looking too far up and I almost fell over backwards, folks. Okay. Big thing going there. That'd be a great place for an owl to live in here and perch, wouldn't it? Oh, look at here, lo and behold. We have owl feathers right there, and a whole bunch of owl turds. There's a whole bunch right there. You know, they send those away to schools And the kids dig through them to see what the owls have been eating. All right, down below us, we've got something down here. Let's see if I can get down there. We got a bunch of loose rock here, so let's see what this is all about. What's going on down here? Aha. Okay. I'll tell you what, give me 1 second, folks. I gotta set the camera down. I'm just gonna put it right here for a moment, okay? Bear with me, and so that I can get down into this hole here. Okay. Let's see what this is all about. Well, it seems to continue to go further. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get down into that. Okay, as always, let's choose our battles before we head into that. What do you say we look up here first, huh? See what's going on. Okay. Now, I would call that gobbing, but so rather than haul them big rocks out of the mine, they just tossed them over here. Oh, look at here. Another big stoped out area. Okay, looking off to our left, they got up into it there. And oh boy. Oh wow. Okay. Let me try to climb up into this. This thing is like a giant honeycomb. And that's, so now where we're at is we're higher up into that stope. When we first got in here and I looked up and said it was about 40 feet. Okay, now, you ready to see something spectacular? All right, take a look at this. Oh, it's almost hard to contain my excitement here. Look at that. Oh, I got to get closer. Just a minute. I'm going to set the camera down for a moment so that I can hop up here and we can get a closer look at this. There we go. Look at that. Right there. Grab your picks and shovels, boys. Get your gold pans and your rock crusher. We're going gold mining. Wow. Gorgeous. Okay. Turning back around. Now we're looking down where we just came from. Okay. I'm going to head back over there to that little landing. I'll meet up with you folks over there. See you there. Okay, I told you that I'd meet up with you right over here on the landing instead of I walk down a little bit further. We're back down into that big room again. Okay, we were just right up there. Now turning around behind me, and this makes sense because there is a shaft higher up on the hill. We've got some workings down here. All right. Carefully, it's all just boulders and rocks. Be careful where I place my feet. All right, folks, look at what's going on here to the left of me. See how they got up into that? Look at the galena right there, sparkling and shining. Isn't that pretty? So we've got silver here too. Look at it here. Isn't that pretty? Here, turn the big light off. There we go. Yep. That's silver. All right. And now down here, looks like we're coming into, they intersected into the shaft from up above. All right. Kind of a plank to walk out on. I don't know if I'm going to trust it, but we'll look at it. What's up in there? Another big, you can see the silver up in there, right there. Okay. And yep, this is the shaft. Let me see if I can get a little closer and show you folks. Ooh, I'm not stepping out on that thing any further than that. All right. You can see the bottom right there. That's as far as they went. Goes down maybe, what, another... Here, I'll try to tilt the camera over. Maybe I can do that. See? Hold the camera. There we go. 20, 30 feet. All right. Looking up. That's where the shaft was. Okay, let's get off of this board and head back up this way. All right, so the only place we haven't explored yet is over there where that hole was. Let's head back over there and see if it's even possible. Meet you over there. All right, back again. We're over here by the hole. I tried real hard to try to get my feet down on that level right there. But it's another 4 feet past that, not without some sort of a rope to get down in there. Besides, even if we did, it just goes down to another shaft straight down right over there where you'd need another rope to continue on further. So no, I'm afraid we're not going to be able to get down there, folks. Regardless, even if we did, I'm only going to be able to go right to there and that'll be it. So no sense in going through all that trouble. Maybe if it was a much bigger a winze or something that went down into a horizontal shaft, but all right. Well, that pretty much does it for this. Let's get back outside and see what else we can find. Meet you out there. All right, we're back outside and coming up here on the top part of the shaft that I just showed you guys from down inside that stope. Let's take a look at that. And then off to our right there was the powder shack or the dynamite magazine right over there. Okay. And as I was walking up here, I thought to myself, okay, some of you folks might not know the rules, regulations, and laws of mining. So real quick, I'm going to go over that. So you got 3 different kinds of claims, okay? You have a mineral claim, okay, a patented claim, and then you have the third one, which is pretty about as rare as hen's teeth. You have the homesteaded patented claim, all right? All right, what we're on here is called a mineral claim, which means any one of us, me, you, whoever, a United States citizen, can claim up a piece of land, and if you do, you own the mineral rights to that location. You only own the minerals. You don't own the land, which means the public can come out, they can walk on your land, they can go hunting, they can do whatever, ride around in their four-wheelers, whatever it is, okay? Because it's still public land. The only difference is you own the mineral rights, okay? Number 2, a patented mining claim. Patented, it means that section of land has been relinquished by the Department of Interior over to the claim owner. Now, not only does he own the mineral rights to that piece of property, he also owns the land, okay? So he can fence it off, he can gate the roads, he can put up no trespassing signs, whatever the case may be, because now not only does he own the mineral rights, he owns the land too. And number 3, there is the homesteaded patented land, which is pretty much just like patented land. Now the person can, they can actually build a house on it. Okay, they can homestead that property. Okay, those are the 3. So what we're on today, this is just a mining claim. So whoever owns this, they own the minerals. That's why I can't go hauling off ore samples and doing crazy stuff like that, because it's not my property. But we can certainly scratch around, and I can show you folks all the old workings and things like that. And it's well within my rights as a citizen to do so, because these are public lands. Okay, I just can't haul off minerals and take them home. That's the only difference. All right, so here we are at the top of that shaft. And looking down, let's see if we can get a look at it here. There you go. That's where we just came from. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for over here. What do you say? Oh, there's a cool looking can dump right over there. Yeah, it's just, those are recent cans. Nothing too exciting. What do you say we head on over there to the head frame? All right, I'll meet you over there. All right, so we were just over there to our left in those tunnels, and as I was coming over this direction, I was thinking to myself that some of you in the audience might be wondering, why in the world would anybody sink a shaft as deep as they probably have done here? Why sink a shaft when you can just right over there go get your gold right off the surface and go into those veins? Well, and the reason for that is because oftentimes deep down underneath the ore body, because that's what they're doing, they're dropping that shaft all the way down, and then at the very bottom they're drifting out left and right. And in this situation, I would almost bet you that they drifted out towards where we just came from, and they're trying to get underneath the ore body. Okay, not only is it easier to mine because you're using gravity to your advantage, oftentimes the gold deeper down into the hydrothermal structure is going to be much richer. The values are going to be much, much greater, because up here on the surface, you've got tens of thousands of years of weathering, okay? Water permeating into the rock, washing out the sulfides and the gold that's sticking to those sulfides, etc., etc., and that's kind of lowering your values in the surface rock. But deep down under there, it's all virgin. It's never been touched, and that's why they're chasing after that. Okay, so okay, yeah. Let's. Why don't I switch out cameras and switch over to the better one, and then we'll take a closer look at this. Meet back up with you in a bit. All right, the moment you all been waiting for. Let's see what's in here. Okay. I gotta, give me just a second here. Boy, I swear, sometimes the acrobatics I do while still holding a camera in my hands. Okay. Here's the shaft. And that's the collar right there. Looking over. Holy moly. Look at that. Wow. Now that goes down there a ways, folks. So let's try to figure it out. Okay, as you're making a collar, roughly from there to there is going to be 10 feet. All right. Then from there to there is roughly 10 feet, and so on and so forth, etc., etc., all the way down into the bottom. Should we do a rock test? Yeah. Like I always say, let's use a small rock in case there's a critter There's one. And we will count. Wow, that's really far down. Okay, let me get the camera angle perfect there. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. 4.5. 4.5 seconds. Okay, now oftentimes on this type of a mine, you have a manway off to the right. Right here. And so you got a ladder going down, then it's going to go to this little terrace right here. Then you step over, you go to the next ladder, which goes down to another terrace. Now each one of these ladders are going to be 20 feet long. Okay? And see if I can get a good angle on it. Now if you look down there, right there, see how all those ladders goes 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet. That manway goes all the way down, and you step off on each one of those terraces till you get all the way to the bottom. All right, everybody's asking, so you're going to go down it? Well, heck no, are you kidding me? You don't know how rotten those ladders and terraces are. I mean, take for example, if this mine was built in 1970, okay, the thing would be what, 48 years? 48 years old? 1960, 58-year-old ladders and 58-year-old terraces? No, I wouldn't attempt something like that. Not without some sort of a safety line, another person present, etc., etc. That is not the kind of thing you do when you're solo exploring. Okay? You're going well past what I consider my level 7 crazy meter. Okay? All right, let's head back outside, folks. Yeah, I know you'd want to go down in there, but that's just too gosh darn dangerous. I mean, I'd like to know what's down in there too, but come on, let's get real. All right, meet you back outside. Okay, we're back outside. There's another shaft in this area off to my right. So let's go see what that's all about. Maybe we can find something horizontal to walk into. Let's head over there. I'll meet you over there. All right, we're back. Worked our way a little bit over to the right of the mountain, and now is a great time for a quick geology lesson for all you guys in the crowd that are interested in such things. If you click off right now, that's okay too, but hey, if you want to know what got the miners excited in this location, I've figured it out. All right, first, take a look up on the side of that hill. What do you see up there? Okay, those are all limestone outcroppings. Well, what did the state of Nevada used to be before all the mountains uplifted? Nevada used to be an inland sea, okay, with many, many hundreds of feet of water, right? And over the eons, all the little tiny specks and particles and seashells and everything else float to the bottom of the inland sea. They lay on the bottom, layer after layer after layer, tens of thousands of years. Okay, you end up with eventual compression, and that compression under enough pressure leads to limestone, which is what we've got right here in front of us. Now, I don't even have to do a hydrochloric acid test on this to tell you that what we're looking at here is probably dolomite limestone. You know, there's all different kinds of limestone out there. I mean, you can get into the specifics. This may be a different type. You got dolomite, you got Madison limestone, etc., etc. But just by looking at the pitting, see the pitting? Okay, that's how you know it's limestone. Look at all the pitting right there in that. Okay, now your guys' homework assignment is to go on Google and type in undersea black smoker or black smoker. All right, and what those are is hydrothermal vents coming up from the ocean bottom. All right, so what you have here is you have hydrothermal intrusions or venting working its way up through compacted limestone layers that was at one time at the bottom of the ocean. These are hydrothermal vents. That's why right here, here's a classic example. Look at all that quartz right there coming up. This is bull quartz. super, super white quartz. Very large crystalline structure. Okay, that means that this precipitated at around, I don't know, 350 degrees Celsius, kind of in there. That's where you get your large crystalline structure in bull quartz. Okay. So rather than like in most hard rock mines where you've got hydrothermal features coming up through metamorphic rock, here you've got hydrothermal features coming up through limestone layers. And that's why what we just found over there where we came from, where they were digging into that gigantic hydrothermal pocket. Now there's something right over here. Okay, let's show you real quick. And this is what has your gold in it. So take notice, folks, who's looking for hard rock gold. We're walking along, what are we seeing? Tan rock, gray rock, limestone, blah. Ain't gonna find no gold in that. A little bit of bull quartz right here. There ain't no gold in that. That's because the gold didn't precipitate into that type of a structure of quartz. Now we're getting into the juicy stuff. Right here. Right here in front of us. And it came out of this tiny little shaft right there. Look at this. They laid down some tin here. Okay. This is what they brought up out of the hole. Let me try to get a good foothold here. Okay. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Look at this one. Look at all the sparkling sulfides in there. We got some silver too, right there. Okay. Notice see the rusty color? Here's another beautiful piece right here. Look at this. Oh boy. I'd take this whole pile home if it was mine. Look at that. Oh, here's another one. Look at this one. See, I'm getting all excited now because I know this has gold in it. Look at that beaut right there. Isn't that pretty? If I had it my way, and this was my claim, I'd haul this whole thing off the mountain, put it through a rock crusher, gravity separate it, and get out as much of the free mill gold as possible. And I would just toss aside the sulfides. I wouldn't even bother with roasting. I'd just go after the free mill. It's laying all over. These pieces are everywhere. You don't even have to get a pick and shovel. Look, here's some pieces that people found and set them up there. Gorgeous. Another one. Look at this one. Look at the calcification on that right there. The miners already did the work for you. Let me show you down the hole here. Look, there's the footwall. So here, this would have been one of the hydrothermal vents coming up through the limestone. There's the footwall right there. See how they cleaned it out? Where it looks like a fault going down in there? Yep, that's why they shot it down right that direction. And you got the old ladder down in there. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. Oh boy, look at all this good stuff. I'm just all sorts of excited. Oh, yummy, yummy. Okay, look at this. I'm seeing it everywhere. All right, I'm getting excited. Boy, get somebody out there in the audience is probably saying, geez, get a room. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to get on out of here. That's going to have to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for coming along. That was a lot of fun. I really love finding places like that where there's actually still gold-bearing rock laying around that we can observe and look at. That's super cool. So, as always, hey, thanks again for all my new subscribers for coming on board. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and yeah, share these videos with all your friends. Get them out there, folks that are into this sort of thing. I really would appreciate it. And all right, well, I guess that's all I have to say. I'm going to get on out of here. Again, thank you so much for coming along, and I will see you again next weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye.